Hello, everybody. Gail Craft here from the Empowering Process podcast. And today we're going to talk a little bit about truth and authenticity. I have a couple of questions for you before we even start. Have you ever maybe had a meal, eaten dinner, or eaten something before dinner because you have such a strong appetite? Or maybe you've met somebody new and you hold back a little bit about who you are till you get to know them a little bit better, till you feel safe. Or have you ever had a time where you actually held back information to keep someone from getting hurt, to save their feelings? I'll tell you, I've done all of them. You know, my first marriage, my husband was not a big eater. I am a big eater. I love food and I enjoy everything. And he would be finished with dinner and be ready to leave the table. And I'd be like, really, you're done? So I started to snack beforehand so that I wouldn't be starving. And I still to this day will hold back on sharing all of me when I meet someone. And there may be times where people I don't share all of me with, because there's parts of me that I still feel that I need to protect. Is that being authentic? Is that telling a lie? I no longer hold back on not telling someone things in order to spare their feelings. However, I do a much better job in presenting the information in a way that is helpful, that is positive, and that is intended for growth. And so let's talk a little bit about what happens when you start telling these little white lies, when you're not being completely honest and completely authentic with who you are. You know, part of this is it affects you emotionally. It affects your relationships. It affects your reputation when people find out. Truth and authenticity will affect whether or not you are happy in your life, happy in your job, happy with what you're doing. Some of the things that you might say to yourself, some of the lies that you want to say to yourself or don't want to say to yourself, we're going to talk about because we all do them. And there are ways to catch yourself to kind of shift your perspective so that you have a more productive and constructive way to go through your life. So for example, about I'm not good enough. There is something all of us are not good enough at. So for example, for me, I'm not a good enough cook. I will say I'm not a good enough cook. Why? Because I've chosen not to excel in that area. I have focused on something else. Now, there was a time in my life when I was as good as my peers, let's say. I was learning, right? I was experimenting. I would try and fail, and then succeed. And I ended up getting married to a gentleman who loved to cook. So I let him do the cooking. I cooked big meals on the weekends, but he did the majority of the cooking. So I just never really had to. So it's not that I'm not good enough. I am not good enough right now. And if I choose to be good enough, then I can focus on that. But my focus is elsewhere. And so I'm okay. So when you're feeling negatively about not being good enough for something, stop and take a look at how much time have you spent on actually honing that skill, and how important is it to you in the first place? Because if it's not that important, then you can say, I'm as good as I am going to be based on the time I give it right now, and that's okay. Or you can say, right now, I'm not that great, but I'm going to work on it. And here is my schedule, my plan of attack, and so on. So it depends, how important is it to you to be good enough, right? Here's a big one. I don't regret. So those of us who are in the motivational world and the inspirational world, you know, we work on releasing regrets. And I will tell you that it is impossible to release regrets, but it is possible to look at those times in your life and understand that they made you who you are today. right? And they were a learning experience. And so you can look back at, I regret that I made that choice because I had many choices. We all have many choices. So I made a choice at that point in my life. And, I'm sorry that I did because I think I missed out on some great opportunities. But I learned a heck of a lot about who I am, what I can do, and how to make even better choices in my life, right? And you might have even learned about what's important to you in your life by making a choice that is contrary to what is important to you, a choice that's contrary to your values. If you regret something, then there might be a value that you cross the line on. So take a look at it and learn from it. And then understand, I don't really regret. I am happy that I had that regretful experience because I have learned from it and probably won't do it again. Another lie that I guess we might say that you say to yourself, I don't have time. I hear this over and over again with my clients. I don't have time to. I don't have time to do the homework that you gave to me. I don't have time to spend with my children. I don't have time to finish that project. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. Well, honestly, guys, if you sit down and you do a schedule of where you do spend your time, right? Write down, so yesterday I got up at such and such a time, from that time until this time, I walked the dog, I made some coffee, I fed the cat, and, cleaned up the kitchen. From that time to this time, I took a shower, I got dressed, and I went to work. From that time to that time, I worked on this, this, and this. From that time to this time, I took a break, right? And it's okay, please, guys. Every hour and a half, 2 hours, you must get up and take a break for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15. Take a break. But did you waste time? I honestly will take 2 hours out of the middle of my day just to calm down and cool down, because I go like crazy. From the time I get up, I'm go, 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 go. And so I need to recharge. And then around 1:30, 2 o'clock, I can go, 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 go. If I don't, by 2 o'clock, 2:30, I'm toast. And then I'm done for the day. And so if I have things that I want to do later on that day, I do take downtime. So that is not wasting time. That is an intentional downtime. And then there are times that I just take the dog out and we play. And that is wasting time, but it's good for the dog. So think about, do that, make a little list. And then think about, when you say, I don't have time for, ask yourself, how important is it to you? Because if it is important to you, you'll figure out how to make the time for it, right? I'll give you a little example for me. I used to say, I don't have time to exercise, to work out, right? To take care of this temple that we call body. However, what really was happening is that I didn't want to. It's painful, it requires sweat and tears, and I wasn't ready to face it. When I finally realized that my body's condition is very important to me, because I want to be able to withstand anything that might be coming down the line, with being in the healthiest condition I could possibly be. And if I am honest about that and true about that, then I am going to be making choices that are healthy choices. And one of those is to make time for exercising. And guess what? It's not a problem at all. And, there was, when I first started out, I was doing an hour and a half a day, 45 minutes inside, 45 minutes outside. And that rigor, right, has allowed me to actually see that I can fit things in if I truly, truly want it badly enough. So when you don't have time for ... fill in the space, then ask yourself, is it important to you? And so let's shift that. You either say, this is not important to me, so I'm going to let it go. Or you can say, this is important to me. So I'm going to look at my schedule and I am going to figure out how to make time for this. And if you still are unable to make time, then reassess whether it is important to you or whether or not you've been told it should be important to you. That's not important enough. It has to matter to you. And if it doesn't matter to you, that's okay. Then let it go, right? And if there are people who are telling you that you need to lose weight, you need to exercise, you need to eat better, you need to focus on your schooling, you need to, you can turn to them and either to them or at least to yourself say, that's your perspective. That's not important to me right now. Doesn't mean it won't be later, but right now, list the things that are important to you. And if there's nothing important to you, then I invite you to explore that. This is Gail Kraft. I am a coach, an empowerment coach. I have a podcast, the Empowering Process Podcast, that dives deep into difficult conversations. Please join my podcast. Listen to a couple of episodes. I've got about 66 of them out there right now. And I hope that this little bit on authenticity and truth, especially to yourself, has helped you a little bit. Take care, everyone. I love you and talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.